Hey everyone, I'm Marlie Hall. Welcome to the show that covers the culture like no other. Joining us today, a panel of experts to give us their unfiltered opinions. We have writer and music journalist Naima Cochrane, Lewis Reed, criminal justice reform activist, and comedian Aminah Imani. Thank you for joining us. A number of trending topics to cover today, so let's jump right in. We start here. One of R. Kelly's former live-in girlfriends is now singing a different tune. 24-year-old Joycelyn Savage once publicly defended the singer, who is currently in jail on charges of sexually abusing women and girls. But now Savage says she wants to tell the truth about the abuse she suffered on Patreon, a subscription platform that starts at $3 a month for membership. So she says she'll make daily posts about her life with Kelly. So far, she's revealed that the 52-year-old allegedly choked her for not calling him daddy, and she claims he forced her to have an abortion in his home. Joycelyn's parents claimed she was being brainwashed by R. Kelly, but in an interview with Gayle King earlier this year, she stood by her man. Listen.
For our parents, both of our parents are basically out here. They're trying to get money and scam because they didn't agree on what happened, you know, with music or wherever it could be, and they're just very upset.
R. Kelly's attorney issued this statement. It says, quote, "We know the real facts, and it was not until the money ran out that she decided anything was wrong. Hopefully people will see it for the obvious profiteering it is." The docuseries Surviving R. Kelly painted Joycelyn as one of the main women in charge of indoctrinating others into their relationship with R. Kelly. So, Naima, why do you think she is speaking out now?
I do think it's because the money ran out, but that doesn't mean it's not true. I think that part of the agreement that she had with Robert was that she would be taken care of as long as she was loyal to him. He can no longer take care of her. He's been in jail for how many months now? So even though it might seem unseemly to put her story behind like a paywall, it's her story, and she might as well monetize it. I do think that some people are kind of giving it a side eye, but it doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that sis is still out here. She's still isolated from her family. She still needs to take care of herself. And it is her story to give, and people are going to pay for it.
But the fact that she is now changing her story, do you think that casts doubt on her as a victim?
Absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, I wouldn't want to have anything to hear from you because your credibility now is at stakes. One minute you're saying one thing, another minute you're saying something else. At this point, I want to just close the book. Like, we're going to cancel you.
But my thing is her abuser is behind bars. He can't get to her. And what happens when your abuser is removed from the situation, you can't really... You know what I mean? Like, it's not like R is still here and there and present and in the home. He's gone, and she may realize he's not a threat to her anymore.
Is that the motivation, or is it the money?
I think that it's a combination of the two. I think that she definitely needs a means of support because R. Kelly was her means of support. Abusers isolate. She's isolated from her family. She's isolated from friends. She's not working. She probably has no, skill set to speak of because she's been with him for so long. So she definitely has to fear for herself, but also she's realizing he's not a threat to her anymore.
I think that there's a way for her to be able to get money without necessarily doing it like that.
But how though?
So, maybe it might be through a book deal, it could be through television, etc. But I don't think that this is the proper medium in order for her to be able to do so.
I can agree with that.
It's almost like subscription trauma. I'll try to say that three times fast next time.
And if you're really trying to seek help and you're really trying to seek justice, this wouldn't be the route that you take. So that's why, again, the credibility, integrity is at stakes here because what's your gain here? Are you really trying to be free?
What's your angle?
You're right. Are you really trying to be free of R. Kelly? Are you trying to start a new life? Are you really trying to be liberated? Or are you just trying to still monetize and get what you were promised from when you started dealing with R. Kelly?
It just doesn't feel right.
Right. So you think the fact that she put it behind a paywall may cast doubt on her intentions?
I think that it definitely it adulterates her intentions to a degree. But again, I'm not taking anything away from her pain. Her pain is her pain. The purpose by which she is doing what she's doing is kind of shady.
I think we just also can't try to judge her by the standards of a normally socialized woman her age because she's not. We don't know where she is emotionally. We don't know where she is in terms of what she understands.
Yeah,
exactly.
She needs therapy. She needs a good old therapist.
Right. It's not exactly like she has a spokesperson who's sitting there saying, "Let me take you to a literary agent and get you a book deal." She's doing what she can do by herself.
Well, I hope that's what people reach out to her and tell her.
Right.
Like, you don't need a Patreon. You need a therapist. You need to honestly take a back seat from all of this promotion and social media and really deal with the issues that you've been like pushing back for a long time now.
But will it even be enough financially? Because she's got less than 2,000 members on Patreon, and at $3 a month, what can that really be?
Well, it depends on how she set her tiers, because if she's smart, you can get some stories at one tier, and if you want the juicy stuff, you gotta pay like the $100 a month or the $50. I don't know, but I didn't look. But clearly there's at least members of the press who are paying for this.
I also think that there are interested people who want to hear her story, but they don't want to necessarily hear her story in the way by which she's putting it out there, and by which the way by which we have to pay for it.
But why don't you think people want to hear it that way?
There's just something wrong with it. It just don't feel right. Like, I gotta click a subscription and like get a little teaser every single day to, I gotta go through my Instagram feed. I gotta go through my Twitter feed. Then I gotta go over to this website to hear what you got to say. I'm good.
We scroll all
girlfriend.
day, every day. It ain't nothing but a blog. People will do it.
But already the details of the story is stuff that like we already know. So that's my issue too. It's problematic because you're like, yeah, and we walked to the store and bought Skittles. It's like since everybody
We already know the man like yellow Skittles. What are you talking
give
about?
us the real. Like, and so that's the issue for me now already. I'm reading an article like, okay, when are you gonna tell us something new, something
I don't think there's
different?
anything new to tell about him. I think we've heard every horrific thing that Robert's done. It's just a matter of him doing it to somebody else.
But does it make the case against him stronger now that one of the main people who defended him is now accusing him?
Not necessarily. I think he's done regardless. You know, it may, like, again, just people have a really twisted sense, not twisted, but people, it's hard for people to understand the mind of a victim, right? Like you said, she's standing by him and now she's not, and she was defending him as early as a few months ago and now she's not. None of us can put ourselves in her shoes and really understand what her thought process is. I don't think she's necessarily trying to get justice. I just think she's trying to use her voice.
Yeah, and it's a degree of Stockholm syndrome as well.
Yeah.
Where she identifies with her captor. She identified with R. Kelly, and she wanted to defend him. That's my boo. That's my bae, and that's part of that trauma, and it informs that. But and I dig all that portion of it. She needs Ayana to fix her life.
That's what she need to get them coins. See
Exactly.
okay,
go on, Ayala, fix my life, and then everything else is going to be good.
She needs somebody to guide her through that, and she probably doesn't trust anybody.
Well, whether you believe Joycelyn or not, everyone has the right to tell their story, and in 2019, there are many ways to do just that. Well, R. Kelly is awaiting his day in court, but for many Black people, it's guilty until proven innocent. A new Yahoo analysis finds that U.S. taxpayers have spent nearly $1 billion to incarcerate Black men and women who were wrongfully convicted. Data from the National Registry of Exonerations finds that Black men make up almost half of innocent defendants who were exonerated since 1989. And here's another sad stat. Not only are Black men overrepresented in the prison system, innocent Black prisoners do more time before exoneration, an average of 10.5 years compared to 8 years for other races. Now, I don't know which fact I find more disturbing, that half of all of those wrongfully convicted are Black men, or that I helped to pay for it. So, Louis, you've been in the system. Where do you stand on this?
Well, first and foremost, this is not breaking news to me, and I don't know why it's breaking news on Yahoo. And in all actuality, that statistic is actually wrong. We spend $80 billion annually on incarceration. $1 billion happens to be on incarcerating Black and brown folks. I happen to be one of those individuals. Having done nearly 14 years in federal prison, was released, got rearrested for child support arrears that accrued while I was incarcerated. So I matriculated through the system in every way, shape, or form that you can quite possibly imagine. While I was incarcerated, this is what I saw. I saw a wealth of genius. I saw people whose lives were diminished by excessive prosecution and disproportionate sentencing. And it really pissed me off to the degree that I got involved in doing the things that I'm doing as it relates to being a national organizer for Cut 50, working alongside with people such as Sean King with the Rodney Reed situation, et cetera. This is not surprising to me. Ever since if you follow the thread, going all the way back to the 70s in the Reagan and the Nixon administration, this was an open declarative war on black folks, black and brown folks. And it just so happened that now we have the introduction of opioids, and when you have people who come from manicured lawns and opulent neighborhoods, and they don't necessarily look like you, sis, right? They on the wider side of the spectrum. Now we have to respond. Now it's a we situation and not us versus them thing.
Well, I think we can all agree that racism is a factor, but is there something else at play here in the system?
I think it all does come back to racism, though. But there's also, the likelihood of going back into the system once you go into the system at a certain age, and I'm sure Lewis knows this stat better than I do, it's increased, right? Because if you are putting juveniles in the system at, for, higher incarceration rates than you would for like a white kid, adolescent, et cetera. Even looking at Rikers Island, like we're looking to close Rikers Island in New York. We finally have a plan in place that's going to make it happen. Rikers had a longer average stay for a jail meaning someplace that you're supposed to be before you get sentenced. Like, people would do more time in Rikers than they actually got sentenced to prison. And this is time before you've been to trial, before you've actually been declared guilty, before you've actually, been sentenced. You're in Rikers. And sometimes just that time in Rikers changes you. It brings you Khalif Browder, or it brings you out of Rikers. The things that you have to do to survive in Rikers put you back on the street and make you more likely to go back into the system because the system has changed you because you have to adapt.
Think about this, Marlie. And let me just also add this as well, right? So when you asked about the race component, when you look at the 13th Amendment, we allowed Lincoln as being the president who freed us. But there's a B or C clause somewhere in there, right? It says that, and I'm paraphrasing. It says that slavery is abolished in the United States of America. Except, I pause for dramatic effect, except in the instance of incarceration. So fundamentally, it's going to inextricably tie into race. And one of the things that MLK talks about, right, is a threat to injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And as we see in this American legal system, not the criminal justice system, it's the American legal system, it's something by which people such as your brothers, my cousins, your baby daddies, and your mans in them, we feel the brunt of this system that really hammers us.
And it's race, but it's also money, because with the rise of the prison industrial complex, that's what you're looking at. You're basically looking at free to labor. Almost no labor. So it benefits them to keep people incarcerated so that they can continue to make profits, so that different companies can continue to have their clothes manufactured, continue to have their calls outsourced. The fires in California, there are firefighters who are prisoners who are not eligible to be firefighters when they get out of prison because they're federal convicts. So it's like it is a self-perpetuating system, but it benefits everybody except incarceration is supposed to be about reformation, and it's not anymore.
It ain't never been.
It was supposed to be, right? But it's not.
Let me call my cousins who got locked up when I was younger. Everybody I know who's been through the system ain't never been reformed.
There's no work of reform and actual real restitution and rehabilitation in the prison center.
You have been reformed.
Well, I've been reformed because one of two things. Number one, when I was incarcerated, I realized that education was going to be the passport in order for me to be able to fight the power. Right? I tapped into my 1989 Radio Raheem spirit, and I wanted to fight the power. That's number one. The second thing is that I worked on me spiritually, emotionally, mentally, not necessarily as physically, right? Because you can't tell that I did almost 14 years.
The sweater's camouflage.
Yeah, it definitely is. I got some pecs under here, but here's the thing. I realize that those who are closest to the problem are also closest to the solution, but like you said, furthest from resources and power. So when you think about how I was reformed, I shouldn't be the exception. You have many people who are incarcerated who, if given the opportunity to earn their master's degree in clinical counseling like the way that I was able to, that they would have definitely capitalized off that opportunity.
Well, hopefully there's a benefit to this article. Even though you said it's old news to you, when I read this, it was something new that I found out. And so hopefully from that, now that there's more awareness around this issue, something can be done, because it's ridiculous.
Oh, we fighting the power for sure. sure.
Yes. Well, it seems like this is a deep-rooted systemic problem. I can only hope that these embarrassing statistics move decision makers in our justice system to take action. So up next, Kevin Hart is giving fans an inside look at his very public fall from grace, why this latest project is being greeted with controversy, and senior citizens' arrest, how a case of breaking and entering resulted in a black lady beat down. That's a story you don't want to miss after the break. Welcome back. Kevin Hart is inviting fans to join him on his road to redemption in a new 6-episode Netflix series. Don't Fuck This Up, yes, that's what it is called, will chronicle the comedian's day-to-day life as he deals with the fallout from the Oscars controversy. You may remember homophobic tweets and comedy routines resurfaced, eventually forcing Hart to step down as the award show's host. Hart, who suffered major back injuries during a car accident this summer, announced the project on Instagram. Listen.
I'm excited about it. It's a look into my life over the past year and a half, which has been a hell of a roller coaster. Peaks, hills, valleys, ups, downs. It's as real, as raw, as transparent as you can be.
So, Aminah, you're a comedian. Don't people just want to see comedians being funny? Is anyone asking for this?
No, that's not the only thing they want to see. I mean, eventually we all want to laugh, but I feel like with the new height of social media, people are digging into your lives and they want to find something controversial. They want to be trolls. They want to just, point at you and show you your flaws to your face. And so I think it's a great opportunity for Kevin to just be his true self, but also show that there's an evolution to a person. So some of the things that I thought 10, 20 years ago might not be where I stand now. And that should be what you judge me off of. And so
you think people will find his hardships funny?
I think so. Absolutely. We all.
So look, it's funny there already.
Well, I mean, what's the saying?
To keep from crying?
Yeah, but laugh to keep from crying, but also misery loves company.
Right.
So I think most of the times we're all broken. We all find things that are wrong with us. And if you see that in someone else, it's a connection made. It's kind of, diabolical, but that's just how people form those bonds. So it could either uplift some people, but also be like, yeah, I wanted to see you fall anyway, so thank you.
But many members of the LGBTQ community are still upset with Kevin Hart because they were not satisfied with his apology. Is this a good move on the part of Netflix?
Well, because it was a half-ass apology. I mean, Kevin wasn't really forced to step down from hosting the Oscars. He chose to step down from hosting the Oscars. They said, issue an apology, and it's fine. And he chose not to do that. And then he issued an apology later because this all happened while he was promoting a movie, so he had to do press, so he had to address it. I don't know about it, whether or not it's a good move for Netflix. My question is whether or not it's a good move for Kevin. I think what it does point to is that cancel culture is kind of a myth. People keep talking about, you're ruining people's lives and careers, but he is literally profiting off of what happened. Harvey Weinstein's still out there chilling.
Is he?
Yeah, he's showing up. He's about to go to trial, but he was just at a comedy show, just chilling a couple of weeks ago.
But he's not making a docuseries about it.
He's not making a docuseries about it, but I'm just saying, who has really been effectively canceled aside from Bill Cosby, and it took him till he was 80-something years old. You know what I mean? And R. Kelly, and it took him 30 years. So it's kind of like people are like, you're giving everybody a hard time and you're stopping them from being able to make a living. Kevin has Jumanji 2 coming out in December. I'm going to see it. It's going to make him $1 trillion. You know what I mean? He's fine. He's fine. I guess that's my point. It's Kevin's fine. And Kevin is now, I think the reason that the LGBTQ community is upset is because he's now going to turn this instance, instead of turning into a learning moment, he's going to make money off of it.
But I guess he's fine, but is it a smart move?
Yeah.
I don't know. 3 words you're not supposed to say on TV. I don't know. I think that, this is Kevin's prerogative. Ultimately, Kevin is going to do what's best for him, like you just said, right? You're going to show up, you're going to laugh, you're probably going to laugh hard, you're going to have a good time, you're going to eat some popcorn, etc., and you're going to go home. I think that we are we live in a culture where we're very hypersensitive all of a sudden, right? People have been making fun of me and my light skinnedness and my green eyes and blonde hair since I was a kid, right? So I just became impervious to it. But I think that we live in a culture where we're just very hypersensitive. So as it relates to whether or not this is okay for him to monetize off of it, that's his prerogative. Now, if people want to show up, to go see whatever it is that he putting out there, that's their prerogative. I'm gonna go see it because I like Kevin Hart and I think he half funny sometimes.
Yeah, but when I saw that he had his Netflix special, I saw it no different than Chelsea Handler's Netflix special. She pretty much got on Netflix talking about, oh, white privilege. We're gonna learn from how it's not good. I watched this. Y'all, I watched this special. Like, there was not a learning opportunity the entire time. And so when I saw Kevin Hart getting his Netflix thing, I only thought, okay, get your bag like Chelsea did. Because Chelsea literally was just like, oh, we're going to learn about how white privilege is a bad thing. Sat, had conversations with her friends. No one said anything about new information. And then just exposed, like she called up her black boyfriend from high school, knew nothing about his life. They ate in the kitchen and in scene. I was like, okay, Kevin, get your bag. Because at this point, like you said, hypersensitivity, but what's your focus? He brought snow to the backyard in LA. Kevin, have your life.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important, like Lewis said, if he wants to do this, that's his prerogative, but how people respond to it is their prerogative. And I think that's the thing. Hypersensitivity or not, it goes both ways, because all of a sudden when people react to something that they don't like, it's, oh, y'all making too big a deal of it. We were doing this and we've been doing this for 20 years. Nobody said anything in 1973 when Red Fox said, it's not like social norms evolve.
Right.
They're supposed to evolve. And over the last decade, they've evolved at warp speed. You know, and I think we have to be mindful of that. And do I think there are some people who just want to be offended? Yes. But do I think that there is value in actually paying attention to like how things are shifting? Yes.
And also when Red Fox and Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy said what they said, it was really funny. Let me just put that out there for the record.
You might get some pushback on that later. The docuseries will be released on Netflix on December 27th. I'm not sure if reminding people you've said some inappropriate things is the best PR strategy, but we'll see how it works out for him. So Kevin Hart's image took a beating, and so did one intruder who decided to break into the wrong black woman's home. 82-year-old power lifter Willie Murphy says she was getting ready for bed when a man began pounding on her door, trying to force his way in. I'll let her tell the rest of the story. Listen.
The young man is in my home, broke the door. I'm alone and I'm old, but guess what? I'm tough. And you want to know what happens? He picked the wrong house to break into. I took that table and I went to working on him, and guess what? The table broke. And it had metal legs, and I'm jugging him. And when he's down, I'm jumping on him.
I love when she does that. Okay, so I want to share a picture with you. Let's see if we have it, if we can bring it up. Okay, so that's me on the left, next to my big brother. Thank you. So I'm a brown belt in martial arts, Shotokan karate, and I can totally see myself doing this at 82 years old if some joker thinks he's gonna break into my house. So my question to you all is there an elderly black woman in your life who you can see doing this?
100% this would have been my great-grandmother. She may not have, once her hip went bad and she was on the walker, she may not have been able to do what Willie, first of all, anybody named Willie Murphy at 82 years old, she's gonna fuck you up. Like, for real. But my great-grandmother, Savannah, she had a 22 under her pillow. You would have got that.
Wow.
You would have got that Saturday night special. You might not have got the table, but she would have had something waiting on you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I was locked up with some cast that was very brawny, and she's like out benching like a whole bunch of dudes that I know that's in prison, right? Like she's stacked. Are there any people in my family that can do that? No. Right? I love my grandmama. My grandmama made the best banana pudding, but my grandmother can't beat nobody up like that. Now, my grandmother did have a 38, so she would have shot you, but she wasn't gonna jump on you and do that. So.
Well, I'm gonna definitely send this video to my grandmother, encourage her to start going to the gym. Like, go take that silver sneaker yoga class, sis, because
Silver sneaker certified. Okay.
But does she have a firearm like Lewis and
No,
Naima's grandma?
she doesn't, but she doesn't live alone. So my cousin and my aunt is there. So
so
hopefully,
they're gonna get a family beat down if they break into
They
your
gonna get
grandma's house.
jumped. I mean,
Exactly.
at this point. But I'm proud of her, but she shouldn't reenact it, because after a while it was like, okay, sis, well, if he was on the floor, you didn't have to do too much.
She shanked them.
Now she's telling herself.
She needed to make sure.
She like, and then I gotta talk.
She was like, and go back and tell your friends what happened here. Listen, they needed to learn.
But here's the thing, though. The beauty about that is that, not the beauty, I should say, but the interesting thing about that is she didn't press charges.
Right.
And for this cat to go back around the way and have pie on his face, like, you can't even show face back with the fellas and like,
Right.
yo, you gotta, like, what happened? It's just crazy.
So, Louis, this last question is yours. So you saw Miss Willie Murphy in the gym doing her thing, the clap push-ups, lifting the whole 9. Can you keep up with her on the gym?
I cannot keep up with her on the gym, and I'm not going to even try. I don't want nobody calling me out on that, trying to, Willie Grandmama challenge me. It's not going to happen. Don't drag me. It's not going to happen, period.
Well, this gangster granny decided not to press charges, maybe because she figured he suffered enough. So I guess you could say justice was served. So that's all for today. I want to thank my guests Naima, Louis, and Aminah for joining us and sharing their candid commentary. And as always, thank you for watching. I'm Marlie. See you next time.